I'm going to be talking you through how to write a review. The review we're looking at today is a book review. We're preparing you to write a review because in the first certificate exam you could be asked to write a review in part 2 of the writing. In the first certificate you could be asked to write a review about a website, a film, an activity you have taken part in, or a book, amongst other things. The review that we're looking at today is how to write a book review. First of all, in the first certificate, it's very important that you read the question carefully, and so we're going to analyse the question that we have in front of us. When we analyse a question, we read the question, we reread the question, and then we highlight the key words. You see this announcement in an English language magazine. Book reviews wanted. We want your views on books for teenagers. Write us a review of the last book you read. Tell us about the story, characters, and any special features of the book, and whether you would recommend the book to other people. The best review will be published in the magazine. Write your review. It should be 140 to 190 words. I'd like you to read it again, just to check that you understand the question completely. Now I'm going to highlight the key words. You see this announcement in an English language magazine. Book reviews wanted. We want your views on books for teenagers. Write a review. Last book you read. Tell us about the story, the characters, and any special features of the book. You have to say if you recommend the book. And then it tells us that the best review will be published in a magazine. It's important again to remember and to make sure that we know what we're writing. We're writing a review, and it should be 140 to 190 words. It's very important that we know that we're writing for a magazine. Because we're writing for a magazine and they are going to publish the best review, that means that we have to try and write as best as possible. Because it's for a magazine, we have to try and write in a way which is enthusiastic or interesting. We have to try and use a variety of vocabulary to make our writing entertaining for our readers. People like to read things in magazines which are fun or interesting. So interesting vocabulary, entertaining if possible, and enthusiasm. It's always a good idea to talk about something, to review something that you have enjoyed. Other pieces of information which are very important from this question is that in our review we're going to talk about a book, and we must describe the story, the characters, and a special feature of the book. We also need to include a recommendation. Now that we've understood the question clearly, and we know what it is that we have to include, description of the story, description of the characters, description of a special feature, and finally a recommendation, and we know that we're writing for a magazine, and it must be entertaining and interesting. Now that we know what we're going to write and how we're going to write, we can try to write a review. On the next page, we're going to look at somebody who has tried to answer this question. The last book I read was not new. In fact, it was The Lord of the Rings. It is set in an imaginary world and tells the story of a creature called a hobbit who takes a dangerous magic ring back to the place where it was made in order to destroy it. There are many memorable characters apart from the hobbit and his friends, including a wizard called Gandalf and a suspicious creature called Gollum. This is a book about friendship and loyalty. However, it is the imaginary world that makes it truly magical. There are terrible battle scenes with fantastic animals and birds. It is so exciting that you want to believe that it is real. The descriptions are vivid and make the whole story so believable. I would recommend this book to anyone, even people who do not usually enjoy fantasy books. What I would say to them is go and try it. Like me, you might find that the book lifts you out of your everyday life and into a world you may never want to leave. Let's quickly go back to the question to see that this person has answered all of the main points. Has it described the story? Has it described the story? It has. It describes where the story takes place. Most important information. Has it described some of the characters? It has. It talks about Gandalf. It talks about them being memorable characters, the Hobbit and his friends. So it talks about the story, it talks about the characters. Does it talk about a special feature of the book? It certainly does. It describes the terrible battle scenes, the fantastic animals, the descriptions which are vivid. These are special features of the book. And then the next question is, does it recommend the book? And it does. It has a final paragraph recommending the book. So, to summarise, writing a book review, it's very important that we answer the question. And here are some of the key points which make this review so good. First of all, remember the title and the author of the book. Remember to say what the book is about, but not in too much detail. We call this a brief description, and here we have the brief description of the story. Remember to mention the memorable characters. But again, don't spend too much time describing them. You don't have to describe every character, and you don't have to include everything that happens in the story. A brief description of the story, a brief description of the characters. Because we're writing for a magazine and we want to write the best review we possibly can, try to use a range of interesting vocabulary. So we have lovely vocabulary here: an imaginary world, truly magical, fantastic animals, terrible battle scenes. So exciting that you want to believe that it's real. There are vivid descriptions which make it believable. Try to use a range of interesting vocabulary to make your review as interesting, as entertaining as possible. Remember to try to explain your ideas clearly and link your ideas together. So we have linking words and explaining your ideas clearly. Remember to try to explain your ideas clearly and link paragraphs together. Finally, remember to give your opinion. In a review, very often you're asked to give a recommendation, or you're asked what you thought of the film, the book, the website. So you're expected to give a recommendation. This recommendation should come in the final paragraph. Now we're going to look at some useful vocabulary that you can use in your reviews. In the introduction, it's very important to say what the book is that you're going to review, what the name of the book was that you read. It's very important to say where the book is set. That means where it happens. And so it could be it's set in 1990, or it could be it's set in New York. The story is based on a crime. What the story is about. Another nice piece of vocabulary to introduce the people you're going to talk about. There are many memorable characters. The main theme, the main subject of the book is. What the book is saying is. And then finally, for recommending. I would recommend this film to anyone. It's one of the best books I've ever read. Although I'm not normally keen on musicals or on horror or on crime, I'm glad that I decided to read it. This book lifts you out of your everyday life. These are nice expressions that you can include in your book review. Try and include some of this language, and good luck writing your review.